Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smartkarma Corporate Webinar. I'm Vidhi Bhatt from the Corporate Solutions team at Smartkarma. We are very happy to have with us today the management team of Don Agro International. We have with us the CEO, Marat Devlet-Kildeyev.
Hi.
And the CFO, Artur Nazaryan.
Hello.
We will start this webinar with the duo walking us through a company presentation, after which they will engage in a fireside chat with Smartkarma Insight Provider, Nicolas Van Broekhoven.
Hello. Hi.
We will be taking question and answers at the end. So I would like to request you to post your questions at the bottom of the screen on the Q&A tab. During this webinar, I will also share some links on how you can connect with Don Agro and with Nick. So please keep a lookout from messages in your chat box as well. Without much ado, I will now hand it over to the management team to start with the presentations. So over to you, Marat and Artur.
Thank you. Hi, please allow me to introduce Don Agro International Limited to you. Its ticker symbol is GRQ. And next slide, please. Don Agro is a company. Don Agro International is the company that is based in Singapore. It's a Singapore-based company. It's listed on the Singapore Stock Exchange, but its main assets are located in Russia, in the Rostov and Volgograd region. In the Rostov region, it's one of the largest agricultural groups, and it is quite well known for its achievements in the wheat harvesting area and also dairy farming. We have, like I've just mentioned, two segments in Don Agro. The first, the largest segment is crop segment. It is cultivation and sale of agricultural crops, such as winter wheat, sunflower, and corn. Our total controlled land bank is 63,240 hectares. We have a storage capacity of 103,000 tons. And in 2020, our total crop production was 64,923 tons for winter wheat, 17,638 tons for sunflower, and 5,291 tons for corn. We are the largest milk producer in the Rostov region, number one. And our herd size is 4,254 heads, which includes 2,188 milking cows. Our total raw milk production in 2020 was 16,015 tons. We are based not only in the Rostov region, but also in the Volgograd region. Can we proceed to the next slide? This slide shows the geographical location of Don Agro. Actually, the name of Don Agro comes from the name of the river Don, which is one of the major Russian waterways, and it's located in the European part of Russia. Agro, it's an international word, means agriculture, agribusiness. So it's agribusiness in the Don region, but also in the Miller district of the Rostov region, we have 53,240 hectares of land, which we control. And this division is located close to the Black and the Azov Seas and the Don River international ports. See the Don River, hence Don Agro. This proximity to international ports allows us and international traders to save on transportation costs. And this allows us to command a higher price for our produce as compared to more inland regions of the Russian Federation. And the strategic location of Don Agro is confirmed by the fact that all the international traders, such as Cargill, Glencore, Louis Dreyfus are located and have terminals in the Rostov region. Apart from the Rostov region, we're also located in the Kamyshinsky district of the Volgograd region. And again, we're located on the banks of the famous Russian river called the Volga River. The Volga River flows into the Caspian Sea, and the Caspian Sea is controlled by Azerbaijan, Iran, Kazakhstan, in addition to Russia, and it's an ancient European trade route from Northern Europe to the Middle East. Also, the Volgograd region borders on Kazakhstan, which is a key gateway to such markets as China and the rest of the Central Asia. So to summarize, we have a significant land bank located in very good areas in Russia in terms of fertility and transportation convenience. And we specialize in grain harvesting and dairy production, and we continue to pursue the strategic goals of further expansion of the land bank, which has been witnessed by the acquisition of Volgo Agro, of Rav Agro Rost, and other pieces of land surrounding Don Agro. So to summarize, good location, good yields, good transportation logistics. These are the main features of our company. Please, let's proceed to the next slide. I will hand over this presentation to Artur Nazaryan, our group CFO.
Yes, hello everybody. I hope everybody has an opportunity to look through our financial reports. So here we can see a short summary that shows constant stable profitability and growth. As Marat mentioned, we're located in one of the most fertile regions of Russia. So, and thus this makes us very profitable. At the same time, logistic costs are very low for us to deliver our agricultural produce from the company to the river or seaports. So we benefit from this fact as well. You can see slight fluctuations in revenue. This is, I mean, the major reason here is a shift in timing of sales of our crops. For example, if we foresee increase in prices for sunflower or for wheat, we can shift sale of our agricultural produce to the next period. But this doesn't affect the net profit. Yeah, so please, next slide. As you can see from this short summary, our financial performance is very strong. We have a very low gearing. Our net debt is actually zero, despite two rather significant acquisitions that we made during the last 12 months. I'm talking about acquisition of Volgo Agro and Rav Agro Rost, which is around 14,000 hectares. So there are a couple of reasons. So the first, of course, we have a very good yield. The second one are very good prices for agricultural produce, both for crops and for milk. It is very easy to sell our products, and when we're talking about the crops segment, so usually we conduct a tender, invite potential bidders to participate in this tender. These are international buyers like Cargill, Louis Dreyfus, and some other companies, and local exporters. And we just select the best conditions and conclude an agreement. So it's very easy to sell. We don't have any marketing expenses, and as I already told, so logistics costs are very low, and thus this allows us to further increase profitability. Yes, please continue. Next. Maybe Marat? Or should I continue?
Sure. Yeah. What we specialize in is, grain harvesting, and for that we need to expand our land bank and to increase yields. We try to adhere to all the procedures and standards and operational sequences in grain harvesting, and our yields have been quite good. In addition to that, we acquired, since the time of the IPO, we've acquired 14,100 hectares of land, and that's an increase of 26.6%. So the total controlled land bank is now 67,340 hectares. So that's, our strategic drive, and we'll continue doing that as stated in our IPO prospectus. And this is our strategic goal. Second is green tech, artificial intelligence in crop and livestock segments. But we can mention that, we use the cognitive agro pilot system, smart polymorph, and Mustang nutrition feeding system. All these artificial intelligence components help us to become more efficient, more intelligent, and reduce costs and pollution to the environment. Certainly, we are bent on quality control. We are very systemic about that. We upgraded our winter wheat class, and that commands up to $5 per ton. 2021 harvesting results are 72,300 tons of winter wheat and 19,000 tons of sunflower. We're quite successful in this area. And also, we care about the environment. We care about, our planet, about sustainability. We increase our no-till farming land bank. It's about 8,000 hectares. We are very stringent about that. Our oldest no-till plots are about 6-7 years old by now. So we have a long history of that. And we have also begun growing and harvesting organic wheat. We use eco-friendly fertilizers from the bottom of the lakes. It's a very special system that increases productivity, but at the same time, it's very organic. So we try to be, very modern and try to introduce new techniques and new technologies into agriculture. Yeah, next slide, please. You can always reach us. You can always call us, write emails. We'll be more than happy to answer all your questions, should you have them. You can see our phone numbers, cell numbers, and our emails on this slide.
All right, I think it concludes the presentation, Marat.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we will take it forward, with some Q&A and trying to better understand the company and for the investors to learn more about the business. So I think one thing that would be interesting to hear about is, obviously you have a very big land position in this region of Russia. So how did the history of this land position come about? How were you able to get this together in one publicly listed company? Can you maybe share some of that? And also related to that, you have one large owner. His name is Evgeny Tugulokov, if I pronounce it correctly, who owns over 75% of the company. So maybe can you also, has he historically been in farming, or has he come from different industry? Maybe on those two fronts, if you can give some more background on the company.
Don Agro LLC was incorporated in October 2009 as a result of the reorganization and the merger of 5 agricultural companies. And at that point in time, it belonged to the very famous company called Razgulyay Group. It was one of the first Russian big agricultural businesses. Unfortunately, now it doesn't exist. It went bankrupt some time ago. But sometime in 2012, it was acquired by Strongbow Investments, which is a major investment vehicle of Evgeny Tugalukov from Razgulyay. So, the company was already acquired as a big entity. It was just, a big chunk of land with all the agricultural equipment, with the dairy farms sold by Razgulyay Group in the process of its reorganization. Evgeny Tugalukov is a very well-known Russian businessman who's lived in Singapore since 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Has his family there. He's very involved in the Singaporean business circles. He's a sponsor of music festivals, and he had a certain interest a definite interest in agriculture, because agriculture is probably Russia's major strength. Apart from other industries like oil and gas, Russia is very strong, historically has been very strong in agriculture. And before the October Bolshevik Revolution, Russia was the breadbasket of Europe and the rest of the world. It was, a major supplier of foodstuffs to the rest of the world. Unfortunately, after the revolution, when the Bolsheviks destroyed Russian agriculture and united everybody in kolkhozes, Russia's ability to supply the world with food decreased significantly. But after the perestroika, organized by Mikhail Gorbachev, Russian agriculture went through various phases of revival. And as you know, finally, Russia has returned to its status of about 100 years ago and has become wheat exporter #1 in the world. This is very nice because, this way Russia can use its potential, its land, for the benefit of the entire population of the world and supply people with foodstuffs, which is very good.
And so this ties into maybe another question which you touched upon in the presentation, is the fertile land. So you say that your land in the regions where you are active in Russia is very fertile, but maybe can you give some comparison how the yield or the crop per hectare compares to other parts of Russia or other parts of Eastern Europe? How much more yield can you get in the areas where you are compared to other regions that would have comparable crops than you have?
Well, the Rostov region is very large. In the south, it's very fertile. There are districts which yield 6 to 7 tons of winter wheat per hectare. And further down south in the Krasnodar region, 5, 6, 7 hectares are a norm. As far as the Milerovo district is concerned, it's further north from the more fertile areas, but it's still relatively fertile. It's about 4 tons per hectare. If you compare it to Europe and Eastern Europe, they also yield about 4 or 5 tons of wheat per hectare. So we are comparable to them. I would like to, say that, the Milerovo district is, one of the most fertile areas in the Rostov region, but no, we're, above average. We're above average, but we're not one of the top districts. Okay. But if you look at other areas of Russia, for example, if you look at the Orenburg region, which is closer to the Ural Mountains, to the Asian part, yields there are 1.5 tons per hectare. If you look at the Altai region, which is in Siberia, yields are about 1.5 tons per hectare as well. If you look to the Volga region, you can see yields of 2 to 3 tons per hectare. So as compared to the rest of Russia, we are in a very favorable position. But like we said, Don Agro has two wings. One is fertile land, relatively fertile land, but the second wing is our proximity to ports. Because the farther you are from the ports, the more transportation costs you incur and the less money, net money you get from the sale of your wheat and other crops. So this is very crucial. This is very crucial.
Another thing you touched upon. Another thing you touched upon on the presentation is the green technology. So, what can you give some concrete examples? What are you trying? How are you implementing this technology, and how is it improving your yields? And is there further enhancements to be had going forward with some of these technologies that you're implementing?
Well, our major initiative is certainly our no-till farming. And our no-till farming.
Can you maybe explain what that is? What is no-till farming?
Well, basically, no-till farming involves no cultivation of land. We sow seeds right into the soil, and after harvesting, we don't remove, the remains of the crops. So they form, a protective layer of plants that cover the soil and protect it from erosion, from heat, from other negative effects. And it also helps restore the structure of soil. And soil has micro sort of capillaries inside of it, little channels that through which moisture from the depth of the soil rises to the upper levels and feeds crops with moisture, and thus helps crops to sustain extreme heats and droughts. When soil is tilled, all the structure is destroyed. So moisture from the deep layers of soil does not rise to the upper levels, and thus the plants are deprived of moisture from the soil. Also, it protects land from erosion. It protects land from dust storms. It protects the land from a lot of things. Also, because there are fewer technological operations, less fuel is burned for these technological operations. So it's also good for the environment. There's less pollution. There's less gases produced that create this climate change, global warming.
Okay.
Artur, you wanted to add something, Artur, right?
I wanted to just a comparison about the yields. So average yield in the United States and Canada is about 2.7 tons per hectare, which is, I would say, even slightly less than our average yield. And compared to Eastern Europe, our yield is slightly less. But the major reason here is not in the quality of the soil or the level of precipitation. In Western Europe, companies use more fertilizers and they use more modern machinery. And in Russia, agricultural industry just started recently, I would say maybe 5-6 years ago to improve its machinery park, and the yields continue to grow.
Okay. One other thing that you mentioned, so your logistical advantage. So when you look at your sales mix, is all of it exported, or is it all of it, or is there a mix to the Russian market and a mix internationally? Can you maybe expand a bit on that, how your sales mix is?
We sell our produce, most of our produce, to traders. It's a division of labor. We produce and we enjoy a very healthy margin. But then there are certain companies, there's a lot of them who specialize in buying wheat and exporting it. So we sell to exporters, and then they sell to the foreign destinations, mainly Turkey, Egypt, etc. And why we do this is because it's very convenient. We don't have to worry about transportation. They send their trucks. First of all, they make the prepayment, so there's no risk. We get the money, then the trucks come to our warehouses. We load our produce on their trucks, we send them off, and that's it. We're quite happy with this arrangement. And then they take these trucks to the port. They offload the trucks in the port and ship our grain to foreign destinations. As far as corn is concerned, our harvest of corn isn't that big. We sell it to a local deep processor of corn. And we sell our sunflower mostly to the local producers of sunflower oil, because there's a shortage of sunflower seeds, and the capacity of sunflower oil producers is huge. So they're always in the search of extra sunflower seeds. So, we have very good market. We sell to them. They send their trucks, we get the prepayment, risk-free. We'll load their trucks with our sunflower seeds. They take them away, and end of story.
And the dairy business, how is that sales mix?
Dairy business is more or less the same. There's shortage of milk in Russia. It's a well-known fact. And dairy producers line up for our milk. Our milk is very good quality. We organize annual tenders. We collect bids, and then we award the bids. The victory to the highest bidder. For the last few years, the highest bidder was the company called Molvest, which is one of Russia's major milk processors. They also have their own dairy farms, so they're in the business. They're very good, and they send in trucks also on the prepayment basis. They send their trucks. They take our milk every day and deliver to their processing plant.
Okay. And when you talk about maybe Artur, maybe if you look at your sales, so you're of international sales, but all your costs, I assume, are in ruble. How is the sales process for the export market? Is that priced in ruble or is it priced in dollars? And how do you manage the risk, if there is any, between the currency exchange?
Actually, the formation of the price is very simple. Our major product, winter wheat, is just a commodity. We can see its price on the merchandise exchange, and then we just deduct freight costs and the logistics expenses related to transportation from our warehouse to the port and export duty, and thus we get our indicative selling price to offer to exporters. So it's very transparent. Yes, the major, not the major, but significant part of our costs is actually in Russian rubles. Mostly this relates to the spare parts for Russian machinery, to salaries, some chemicals and fertilizers. And actually we benefit from this during the last 5 to 7 years. Russian ruble constantly depreciates, and this allows us to maintain a good margin. At the same time, we among our cost of sales, there are some expenses like fertilizers, which of course also increase in line with the world trends. Yeah. Okay.
And then if you sell to the local, to domestic market with the milk or with some of the corn you were mentioning, are there now or have there in the past been any price controls by the government saying, we will not be able to pay you more than X for this price, even though the market price might be higher? Is there, because in Europe we have had a lot of, in Central Europe we have had a lot of the farmers and subsidy systems, etc., which are quite complex to protect consumers. So is there anything like that in the Russian market which affects your ability to price your product?
Well, actually no, because the major reason here is that Russia produces over 80 million tons of wheat and consumes somewhere about 40 millions. So there is no rationale for the state to limit exports. At the same time, Russian government imposed 2 years ago export duties on winter wheat, they're not very significant, so still we continue to benefit from the global rise in commodity prices. Yeah, but there is no direct limitation or regulation, so only these export duties.
Okay. And then over the last, if you look at your financials, which you showed briefly, if you look at the last 3 years, your net profit margin has fluctuated between 26, 14%, 28%, depending on the year. I mean, this is extremely high compared to, for Singapore-based investors, if they look at Olam, Wilmar, obviously I know they are not 100% comparable because they have many different businesses, just as you, and they're also upstream, downstream. But still, the percentage of net profit that you have generated in the last 3 years is really high for an agricultural business. So I think it will be really interesting for investors to understand, I mean, how sustainable is that? Is there some kind of target that you have that, you know, we would like to have our net profit margin to be a certain percentage? Anything you could add color on that front, I think would be very interesting for investors to know about.
Well, about the reasons, there are several reasons. Well, actually, after we acquired this company, we imposed a very strict control over costs and sales. So we're benefiting from the best available purchase prices for the major components of our cost of sales. At the same time, we're benefiting from the best available selling prices. That's the first point. The second point is that we constantly improve our production processes and protocols. So this allows us to improve the yield. Unfortunately, there is no information in the presentation about the yields that this company had 10 to 12 years ago. So they were much lower, but we continue to acquire modern machinery and thus improve the yield. And the dairy yield increased almost 2.5 times in the last 10 years. So we're also benefiting from this. There is no certain target for us to achieve in terms of net profit margin, but all above 20% is a decent result in our opinion. It's very difficult to compare us to Olam or to Wilmar or to other companies, to other similar companies, because they are not involved. So, I mean, production is not their key business. The key business there is trading, where traditionally margins are much lower. And it's very difficult to achieve such margins like we have somewhere outside Russia or maybe Eastern Europe. Because as I told, so significant part of costs is in rubles, which is rather cheap at the moment compared to other currencies. Yeah.
Okay. In your presentation, you also mentioned, and also in your annual report, you mentioned about opportunities to expand in Southeast Asia or the Middle East going forward. So maybe to diversify away, not only be active in Russia. Are you looking to expand in wheat, sunflower, and dairy in eventually those regions, or are you looking also at completely different crops? Would you be open to that? And is this really one of the top points on your expansion, or would you still prefer to expand more in Russia if you had a choice?
Well, it's a very interesting question. So actually, we have several potential projects in our pipeline, and everything depends on the profitability and net present value and benefits that this project could bring to us. Obviously, the key goal for us and the key commitment that we mentioned in our offer document is the expansion of the land bank in Russia. But at the same time, we are open to researching opportunities to diversify per se, to acquire sunflower oil production plant or maybe some protein production plant, etc. Not only in Russia, but somewhere else. Every country at the moment is very concerned about the food security. So we had and have at the moment some negotiations to construct a silo-type storage for winter wheat somewhere in the key regions of consumption of wheat. So not only the land bank expansion and not only in Russia, but at the same time, the key goal at the moment is to expand in Russia, because actually we were able to see that during the last 5 to 6 years, the prices for land in Russia increased by five times. So, and still they're far below the European prices, despite almost the same yields. And we're sure that the land will continue to appreciate.
Okay, I will ask one last question that I had that I thought of, and then we will go into the Q&A. There's quite a number of questions. So maybe Singapore-based investors, they are very they like dividends. I mean, the Singapore exchange is well known for its REIT sector. Obviously, it's in real estate, very different than yours, but it's very popular for companies that pay large dividends. So you have a current payout ratio, I think, of 20%, but then 1 year you've paid or could pay more. So could you maybe just give investors some your thinking about dividends? How do you see it compared to your expansion capex? Any color also there would be great.
Yes. So at the moment we do not have a fixed dividend policy, but at the same time we mentioned an intention to maintain a payout ratio of 20%, like you told, for the 3 years since the listing, and we try to comply with this promise, I would say. But at the same time, the idea of paying higher dividends contradicts the idea of growth. So during the last year, despite expansion by 14,000 hectares, we were paying 20% of our consolidated profits. And I would say everything depends on our further development. Per se, if our company doubles or acquires some really significant asset, of course, we will have to attract some bank financing, and thus our gearing ratio and net debt to EBITDA will increase. And we are very conservative in our management, and maybe there will be some changes in case of significant development of the company. Maybe we will decrease dividends. Okay. But at the same time, if we'll continue to expand the land bank by 10 to 20, maybe 30% per year, we will continue to pay about 20% per year.
Okay.
But anyway, capital gain is much higher than the dividend yield.
Yes, I understand. So I will now go into just a lot of questions here. So I don't know if we'll be able to answer with about 5 to 10 minutes to go over some of them. So basically, I will pick some questions here. Don Agro used land bank for its business. So this land bank, is it owned or leased by the company? And if it's leased, how many years until it expires? Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Well, at the moment, out of 65,000 hectares, about 18,000 belong us on a freehold basis. So this lands belong to Don Agro. The other land is leased from a large number of physical persons, and mostly it is a long-term rent, so over 6 years. 6 and more years, and we regularly renew this lease. So, I mean, that's a common practice in Russia to have a significant part of the land bank leased. And compared to other agricultural companies in Russia, we have a higher share of our own land and continue to increase it because, as I told, so land is appreciating, and we want to benefit from this.
Okay. Then another question is about, with COVID, how are your operations? Have they, in the past 2 years, since it's been going on this long, Have your operations been impacted? Is there a risk to your operations, or are you, very remote, so there is little risk? Can you maybe share your experience over the last 2 years and how you try to mitigate any operational stoppages at your farms?
Let me answer this question. We got impacted by COVID very heavily in 2020, when 22% of our staff, of our management, got infected by COVID. I was one of the victims. I went through a very severe case of COVID, and I nearly died. 70% of my lungs were impacted by COVID, and it was a very difficult situation, but I finally recovered. Since then, we had sporadic cases of COVID here and there on the farms, amongst tractor operators, etc., but nothing very serious, because we undertook very strict measures. Don't allow them to show up for work if they are not feeling good. If they have temperature, every facility has a person responsible for measuring people's temperature, for checking out their health. We bought large supplies of COVID tests, and we test people in case they have questions for free. And so we have this under control. But now and then, a couple of people would show up with COVID, with symptoms of COVID. They would be sent back home. They would get treatment. So we were worried about the disruption of our dairy operations by COVID. But thank God it didn't happen. And by now, for example, all of our managers in head office, 100% have been vaccinated. As far as our staff is concerned, most of our staff has been vaccinated too. Those who haven't been vaccinated, they're in the process of getting vaccinated. So right now, the situation with COVID is more or less stable.
Okay.
Right, Artur?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I have a question about inflation. So we see inflation being reported by the media basically everywhere in terms of cost inflation, food inflation, input cost inflation. I'm sure you buy from local suppliers and foreign suppliers. So how is this impacting this cost inflation and inflation in general we're seeing? How is this impacting your business? And are you able to, are commodity prices, have they risen sufficiently enough for you to offset those cost pressures on your business?
Well, I would say the major problem that we faced during the last 6 months were the prices for fertilizers. So, as you know, the natural gas prices increased significantly, and this is one of the major parts of cost to produce ammonium nitrate and other fertilizers. And of course, Russian producers of fertilizers, despite very low gas prices, significantly increased prices for fertilizers. And but we managed to buy fertilizers early, so this allowed us to mitigate the impact on our profit and loss account. And we consider this situation is something unique, and gas prices will not stay the same level, and the prices for fertilizers will follow natural gas prices, so they will decrease in the next 5 to 6 months. At the same time, it's about maybe 15% of our cost of sales. It's not something dramatic. And as you can see, commodities prices, especially food prices, continue to grow. We think we're somewhere in the middle of a new super cycle of commodity prices growth. So we'll continue to benefit from this. And this will offset for sure all the cost increases.
Okay. Is any of the another question is any of the products that you are selling labeled organic or bio label that can fetch a higher price, or if it is, how much premium do you get? If you are not selling that, is there a plan in the future to sell part of your either dairy or a wheat or sunflower business as organically certified?
Yes, we do have such plans, and last year we started to grow organic wheat, but we planted about 11 hectares just to try how it goes, and our result was rather successful. So no fertilizers and no chemicals were applied to this acreage, but we managed to get a decent yield of about 2 tons per hectare. But unfortunately, we cannot put a label organic on this product so far, because it needs to be so. About 3 years should pass since the start of
certification, right?
Yeah, we need certification, and it's possible to get it only after 3 years.
Okay.
2 more years to go.
Okay. All right. No, okay, but that's clear that you are then at least thinking about that and looking at that field. So I think our time is almost up. I will ask one last question. So the financials you showed was for 2020. You have, of course, the first half results. Now second half is over. When are you going to update investors on the second half of 2021 and then basically your full year 2021 results? Is there a date yet, or is it usually at the end of next month, or any guidance there?
It will be at the end of February. The board meeting and the audit committee meeting is on the 28th of February, if I'm not mistaken, and then we'll announce right the 28th.
Okay, so somewhere end of February, early March, everyone will be able to see your results for the year and get an update on how conditions are. Okay, thank you so much, Artur and Marat, for a great explanation, and so we can learn more about the business. So Vidi, I think you can hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. First of all, I would like to say, Marat, so glad to see that you're all well and you came back fighting from COVID.
Thank
so
you.
I think everyone, even an attendees, if somebody has gone through it, kudos to all of you for fighting this. And I would like to thank Nick for asking some very interesting questions. I would like to thank Marat and Artur for a good detailed insight into Don Agro, as well as the agriculture sector in Russia and the opportunities that await Don Agro here. I would also like to thank our attendees who were able to join us live today. Thank you so much. There were some very interesting questions from the audience as well. With this, we would like to wrap up this week's webinar, and we will hope to see you again very soon. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.